Rob, this really is just the tip of the iceberg in the cooling of diplomatic relationships between the US and China, isn't it?
It is, but it's a pretty serious step that the United States is taking at this stage, to close down one of the Chinese consulates in such an abrupt manner without any sort of warning at all, accusing the Chinese of spying, accusing them interfering in domestic politics, of coercing business leaders, of threatening US citizens of Chinese origin, arresting a couple of Chinese citizens a couple of days ago, accusing them of trying to hack in to US factories trying to create vaccines against the coronavirus, and so on and so forth. This is really upping the ante. But as you say, there's an awful lot of other stuff going on as well. Over trade, the United States accusing the Chinese of unfair trade practices, of intellectual property theft, over Hong Kong and the new security law there, the United States taking measures in response to that, over the COVID-19 virus, now referred to by Donald Trump not as the coronavirus, but the China virus, making it clear where he thinks it came from, the dispute over the South China Sea, the tensions over the treatment of Uyghurs, joined by France, incidentally, in the last 24 hours, agreeing pretty much with what Donald Trump has been saying, and the British as well, highly critical of the human rights record of the Chinese in Xinjiang province. The list goes on and on and on.
Yeah, and the Chinese government sounded pretty, that spokesperson we heard sounding pretty angry. We've heard statements from Beijing saying they're vowing to retaliate. What are the options available to them, do you think?
Yeah, I think it's quite a difficult situation that the Chinese find themselves in here, Tom. We've seen them take counter responses to the Americans in the past, over the tariffs that were introduced by Donald Trump, and they've threatened to take countermeasures against the measures introduced by the US over Hong Kong and the new security law. But, they don't want to keep getting sucked into this sort of tit-for-tat thing. Having said that, however, they have to respond in some way. Otherwise, it looks like they're being humiliated. So there will have to be some sort of response. It's interesting that in the New Global Times, English language Chinese newspaper, they're all already holding a poll amongst readers to see which US consulate in China ought to be closed down first. That's talk, I think, at this stage. The Chinese are in a delicate position. It's interesting, that Mike Pompeo, for instance, is not referring to China. He keeps referring to the Chinese Communist Party, as if he's trying to drive a wedge between the Communist Party and Chinese society. And the Chinese will be conscious of that and wary of falling into a trap. They don't want to play a part in US domestic politics. They don't want to be Donald Trump's China card. And nor do they want, and I think this is important, to be seen around the world as the country which is always being accused of bullying in the South China Sea, bullying the Uyghurs, and so on and so forth.
Okay, well, thank you very much indeed for that. Our Chief Foreign Editor, Rob Parsons.